What is that thing?
It's what's come for me, my dear.
Directed by Alejandro, we are talking The Inheritance. Now, there has been a few movies with a similar title to The Inheritance, so we are talking the 2024 movie that stars Peyton List and Rachel Nichols. Peyton List, I suppose, most known for her role in Cobra Kai. So, what is The Inheritance? So this is a kind of paranormal, supernatural, whodunit, mystery to a certain degree. It focuses on four siblings who are called home by their billionaire father. One of the siblings brings his wife, the others are all single. And they are told that to guarantee their inheritance, they must protect their father on his 75th birthday up until the point at midnight, because something is trying to kill him. He's somewhat vague in regards to that. And then ultimately it's what is out to kill him, if anything, and if there is something, is it human, is it not? And then we have this kind of sibling rivalry, suspicion, greed, all this kind of stuff comes out. So let's talk about the movie. What works, you might be asking. So to me, this is a visually rich movie with some standout scenes. In particular, there is a scene involving a kind of a storeroom, so to speak, where the father has kept lots of artifacts, including lots of statues, and you will see a cameo from somewhat of a famous statue in there. And this is actually quite a good scene, I have to say. It's very, very effective, very creepy, and I think it is, to me at least, that was the highlight scene in the movie. But there are a couple of other good scenes. There's a sequence involving someone getting attacked whilst swimming, which I thought was actually quite artistically done in a kind of showing you something kind of paranormal, maybe in a way that you've not typically seen it, which I thought was quite good. But there's also some subtler moments in the movie as well, where, for example, you'll see something in the background. So when you're watching this movie, sometimes it doesn't make a big show about, you know, what's actually the kind of the threat here, but you will see things in the background in certain shots, and I think it's done pretty well and looks quite eerie. So, you know, I think there are some visually interesting sequences and moments within this film that I think do work well, certainly at least on a visual level. I think the movie folds in some interesting ideas, certainly about family dynamics, certainly about how money ultimately can cause real problems within families, and we've seen greed and things like this tear families apart. In my own life, I've seen families kind of fall apart over inheritance and things like this. So I do feel this is, you know, holding up somewhat of a mirror to society, and to demonstrate the destructive power that certainly money potentially can have with people, and I think that was sort of demonstrated within this movie. I think the movie looks like it has a reasonable production value. It's shot on quite a nice location, this huge house. I believe this was originally made as actually a Netflix movie, but after the movie was completed, Netflix then sold it. So, you know, it has the kind of the Netflix money behind it, so to speak. So it's a relatively you know, well put together film in regards to the kind of the production design. It has this kind of this big mansion that's all taking place, and has this kind of like this gothic feel to it. And as I say, there are the father is somewhat into the occult, and then there are a couple of you know, sequences involving occult iconography and things like this, and different props. I think it works quite well. It's nice to see Peyton List. I've actually quite enjoyed her in Cobra Kai, actually, to see her in a kind of a movie role here. And there's a couple of other recognisable faces that you'll sort of see actor wise and things like that. So that was you know, again, it's kind of nice to see them. The main thematic here is the kind of the bond with the families, though, and how strong or weak that might be, and I think probably most people will be able to relate to that. What doesn't work in this movie, okay, so I think visually this movie is quite strong. Where it falls down for me is the script. Now, there's some stuff I can say without spoiling, and then there's some stuff I'm gonna not spoil for you, but just suffice to say I have some problems that would involve spoilers. So in regards to the kind of the non-spoiler stuff here, okay, so we know, and this is, if you see the trailer, it's effectively, I'll only be talking about stuff which is in the trailer. So the premise is the father is gathered these 4 siblings to protect him, and they've locked down the house so no one can get in or out. Now, if you were to do this, let's just say you were in that same position, why wouldn't you just not everyone just sit in the same room as the father? Why would you even consider going off your separate ways? Why wouldn't you go off looking for a weapon, even if you don't believe necessarily the father, you know? And why, you know, when the father is saying to this and he's being vague, why aren't these people pressing him on it? Why would people be splitting up and things like this? There's a variety of decisions made that don't make sense. Now, the other thing I would say, and this I'm going to be vague with, so there's when we kind of learn about the potential paranormal influence that this movie has, we learn that there's certain things that it's trying to do, this potential paranormal force. And it seems to have done most of them, but there's one instance where it leaves that door wide open. Now, that's all I can really say without kind of spoiling anything. But it doesn't, the rules that this movie sets up in regards to its own mythology that involves the paranormal situation, it then breaks in the same kind of like movie. So there you go. So that's kind of some plot points I have some issue with. And then I have to talk about how the characters are written. I just thought these characters were so like non-real people like. I often complain in horror movies about people's reactions to things and how people don't really react to horror stimuli when we were to see it, and that is massively true here. People see things, they just don't act in any type of real human emotions. You know, when they see something, or there's an example where we have a character see something shadowy, and at this point they're already told that there is a threat to the father's life, and we see some sort of like, there's evidence that there's something in this particular area, and there's one character in there, they get out, they don't even mention it, you know, things like that. And that's kind of like an early one, but this carries on through. But the other thing with the character types are so broad. I mean, it's just like, with the 2 older siblings are like the mean ones, they're the selfish ones, they're kind of the ones that are looking after themselves and scheming. And then we have the kind of our sort of second youngest one, who is the good one. And he's super virtuous, mega altruistic and everything like that. It's like, my God, these characters just seem so like not real people. The only one who I would suggest seems a little bit kind of more nuanced is Peyton List's character, who is the youngest daughter, who kind of is like a social media influencer, which I know that might make people roll their eyes, but at least I thought she kind of acted like a little bit like a kind of spoiled brat, but not necessarily someone who was, you know, super like obviously scheming or super altruistic. She just kind of seemed like a rich young girl, to be honest. But the other three siblings I thought were horribly written, horribly kind of like obvious in regards to their kind of the way they were written. So I thought I had some real problems with the script of this movie, both in the way that it says its plot and then the kind of the way that kind of the characters are kind of put together. And I am not even touching on half the stuff in regards to that. So yeah, the script here is a kind of a problem, I would suggest. I do feel it ends somewhat abruptly. I would have thought there would have been more made about the climax or the kind of the epilogue. I think this movie had needed to have somewhat of an epilogue on it, you know. So yeah, so you know, it's kind of visually speaking, it's good. And I think if you are undemanding and you're not questioning things and you just, you know, you don't mind stereotypical characters, you can enjoy it for quite a pretty well put together horror film with some reasonable effects, some quite good sequences, and, you know, an interesting idea for a plot. But the execution of the detail of the plot is where this movie falls down. And to me, this makes this film just a little dumb, to be honest. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's constructed well, at least on a visual standpoint, but my God, this is a script that needed another couple of passes on it. 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing it next time.